She flirted in front of everyone, pointed at me and said, "You're single." So I emotionally walked away, changed myself, and left her shattered. She'll never forget what I became without her. I never thought I'd be the kind of man who'd sit down and tell strangers about the moment his marriage cracked open like a rotten egg. But here I am. I guess when something changes you so deeply, you either bury it or let it out. I chose the latter. My name's Mark. I'm 42, born and raised in Ohio, now living in Phoenix. I've been married to Rachel for 12 years. Or I was, depending on how you define marriage after what happened. Rachel was always the kind of woman who drew attention. Not just because she was beautiful, though she was, in that classic, effortless way, but because she had this energy. She could walk into a room and people would turn, not because she demanded it, but because something about her made you want to look. I used to love that about her. I used to feel proud, like I'd won something rare. But over time, that pride turned into something else. Something quieter. Something that sat in my chest like a stone. It started small. Little things. We'd be out at dinner and she'd laugh a little too hard at the waiter's jokes. Or she'd compliment a guy's cologne in a way that felt pointed. I told myself I was being paranoid. That I was insecure. That she was just friendly. But it kept happening. And not just with strangers. Friends. Coworkers. Even my younger brother, once, which made my skin crawl. She'd say things like, "You're looking good lately," or, "If I weren't married," and then laugh like it was a joke. But it didn't feel like a joke. It felt like a test. I remember one night in particular. We were at a party thrown by one of her colleagues. A mix of tech people and marketing types. I didn't know most of them, but I tagged along because Rachel insisted. She liked showing me off, she said. My husband's the quiet type, she'd tell people, like I was some kind of exotic pet. I didn't mind. I'm not the life of the party guy. I'm the guy who stands near the drinks and nods politely. Anyway, we were there maybe an hour when I saw her across the room, talking to a group of guys. She was laughing, tossing her hair, touching one guy's arm. I watched her lean in and say something, and the whole group burst out laughing. Then she looked directly at me, locked eyes, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "So, who here's single tonight?" And before anyone could answer, she pointed at me and said, "You." Everyone laughed. I didn't. I just stood there, holding my drink, feeling like the floor had dropped out from under me. I didn't say anything. I didn't storm out. I just waited until the party wound down and drove us home in silence. She didn't apologize. She didn't even acknowledge it. She just talked about how fun the night was and how we should go out more. That night, I lay awake next to her, staring at the ceiling. I kept hearing her voice in my head. "You." Like I was some kind of punchline. Like our marriage was a joke. I started thinking about all the times she'd flirted, all the comments, all the little digs. And I realized something. She didn't respect me. Not really. She liked the idea of me. The stability. The image. But the man I was? That man didn't excite her anymore. Maybe he never did. I didn't confront her right away. I'm not built like that. I'm slow to anger, slow to act. I spent the next few weeks watching her. Not in a creepy way. Just observing. Seeing how she moved through the world. How she talked to people. How she talked to me. And what I saw confirmed everything I'd feared. She was bored. Restless. Looking for something outside of us. And she didn't care if I saw it. One afternoon, I came home early from work. I told her I had a meeting, but it got cancelled. I walked in and found her on the couch, video chatting with some guy. She didn't hear me come in. She was laughing, twirling her hair, saying things like, "You always know how to make me smile." I stood there for a full minute before she noticed me. When she did, she didn't panic. She didn't even look guilty. She just said, "Oh hey babe. You're home early." I didn't ask who he was. I didn't yell. I just nodded and went upstairs. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to beg for her attention. I wasn't going to compete with strangers for her affection. I was going to change things. Not for her. For me. The next morning, I got up early and went for a run. I hadn't run in years. I used to love it back in college. It cleared my head. I ran 5 miles. Came back drenched in sweat, feeling more alive than I had in months. Rachel barely looked up from her phone. "You okay?" she asked. I said, "Never better." I started doing that every day. Running. Eating better. Reading more. I signed up for a woodworking class. Something I'd always wanted to try. I stopped waiting for her to notice me. I started noticing myself. And slowly, something shifted. I stopped caring what she thought. I stopped caring if she flirted. I stopped caring if she laughed at me in public. Because I wasn't hers anymore. Not really. She noticed, eventually. She started asking questions. "Why are you always out? Who are you texting? You've changed." And I'd just smile and say, "I'm just doing me." That drove her crazy. She didn't like not being the center of my world. She didn't like the idea that I might be pulling away. But she didn't know how to stop it. Because she'd already pushed me too far. One night, she tried to seduce me. Wore that dress I used to love. Made dinner. Lit candles. Played our song. I sat across from her, eating quietly. She leaned in and said, "Remember when we used to dance in the kitchen?" I said, "Yeah, I remember." And then I got up, washed my plate and went to bed. She cried that night. I heard her. But I didn't comfort her. I couldn't. Something had broken. Something she'd shattered with every careless word, every flirtatious glance, every time she made me feel small. I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I was just done. And that's when I knew. I changed her. Not in the way she expected. Not with a fight or a dramatic scene. But by walking away emotionally. By reclaiming myself. By showing her what it looked like when someone stopped needing her. She'd never be the same. And neither would I. The weeks that followed were quiet. Not peaceful, just quiet. Rachel moved through the house like a ghost, trying to pretend things were normal. She'd ask me about my day, make small talk, even try to initiate intimacy. But it was all surface level. I responded politely, but never warmly. I wasn't cruel. I didn't yell or accuse. I just stopped giving her the part of me she'd taken for granted. And that silence, that emotional absence, was louder than any argument we'd ever had. I think she thought I was having an affair. She started checking my phone, asking about my schedule, showing up unexpectedly at places I said I'd be. But there was no other woman. That would have been too easy. Too predictable. I wasn't replacing her, I was rediscovering myself. And that confused her more than anything. She couldn't understand how I could detach without distraction. How I could be content without her validation. One night, she cornered me in the kitchen. I'd just come back from the garage, where I'd been working on a coffee table I was building. She stood there, arms crossed, eyes red. "Do you even love me anymore?" she asked. I looked at her for a long time. Not with anger. Just clarity. And I said, "I don't know who you are anymore. And I don't think you know who I am." She didn't respond. Just stood there, breathing heavy. I walked past her, grabbed a bottle of water, and went upstairs. That was the moment she realized she'd lost me. Not to someone else. Not to some dramatic betrayal. But to the slow erosion of respect. To the years of subtle digs and public humiliations. To the night she pointed at me and said, "You," like I was a joke. I started spending more time out of the house. Not avoiding her, just living. I joined a local running group. Started volunteering at a community center. Took on more projects at work. I was thriving. And she was unraveling. She'd text me constantly. "Where are you? When will you be home? Can we talk?" I'd respond when I felt like it. Not out of spite. Just because I no longer felt obligated to soothe her anxiety. Eventually, she asked if we could go to therapy. I agreed. Not because I thought it would fix anything, but because I wanted her to hear from someone else what I already knew. We sat in that office, across from a woman named Dr. Patel, and Rachel poured her heart out. She talked about how she felt neglected, how she missed the connection, how she didn't understand what had changed. I listened. And when it was my turn, I told the truth. I said, "Rachel used to make me feel like I was lucky to be with her." And for a long time, I believed that. But somewhere along the way, she stopped seeing me as a partner and started treating me like a prop. Something to show off, joke about, dismiss. I didn't leave her. She left me. Emotionally, publicly, repeatedly. And now I'm just catching up. Dr. Patel nodded. Rachel cried. I didn't. I'd done my grieving in silence, in the early mornings, in the miles I ran alone. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just done pretending. After a few sessions, it became clear that therapy wasn't going to fix us. Rachel wanted to rewind. I wanted to move forward. We started talking about separation. She resisted at first. Said we could rebuild. Said she'd change. But it was too late. You can't unring a bell. You can't unsay, "you," in front of a room full of strangers and expect it to vanish. We agreed to split amicably. No drama. No lawyers. Just a clean break. She moved out first, into a condo downtown. I stayed in the house. It felt empty at first, but also peaceful. I rearranged the furniture. Painted the walls. Made it mine again. And every time I walked past the kitchen, I remembered that night. The candles. The dress. The song. And the silence that followed. Rachel still texts me sometimes. Birthdays. Holidays. Random memories. I respond when it feels right. She's dating someone new now. I saw a picture of them on social media. He looks like the kind of guy she used to flirt with. Stylish. But I wish him luck. As for me, I'm good. Better than good. I'm not bitter. I'm not broken. I'm just free. I run every morning. I build furniture on weekends. I read. I laugh. I live. And I never again let someone make me feel like a punchline. So yeah, she asked, "Who's single tonight?" And I said, "Me." Not out of spite. Not to hurt her. But because it was true. Because in that moment, I realized I'd already left her. And that realization changed her. Forever. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this.